first, though, it's not often I get genuinely angry, but I am genuinely annoyed with this one. Is beer at 38p a can expensive enough to deter problem drinkers? Because I was, truth be told, I was thrilled when I heard the Condems were going to impose a minimum price per unit of alcohol to get Britain's boozing under control. It just turns out their proposals fall way short of the 50p a unit, which have been called for by academics and other experts. Instead, after, I can only assume here, much lobbying by the drinks industry, the Condems have decided to charge 21p a unit for beer, 28p for spirits, while wine cannot be sold for less than £2 a bottle. On the spirits front, that makes a litre bottle of vodka cost a minimum of a tenner, which is in actual fact 1 penny more expensive than it costs to get it from an off-licence today. 1p. Now, Sheffield University has been at the forefront of studies into how price affects our drinking. They've argued passionately for 50p a unit, saying it could save as many as 3,000 lives. So why is the government acting like wimps? Have they bottled it after seeing the Scottish Parliament reject a 45p a unit, a minimum price? MSPs felt the very notion of a minimum price for booze was unfair on low earners, so they rejected it completely. Do you, like me, feel the Condems have wasted the chance to get our drinking under control in England and Wales? I have a photo, there you go, that's my friend Rich having a quiet afternoon pint. And that was about lunchtime, and I can tell you something, he ain't going to be poor or sober if he only has to pay 21p a unit in the future. So you're going to see more horrific photos like that, horrific sights. Stephen, golden opportunity wasted?
I think I have to agree with you, it is a golden opportunity wasted. There's no change.
There's no change.
There's no change at all. No. Although there is the lobby who will say that, you know, if you do increase the prices to the level that was expected, then you are going to penalise people who don't drink out of control. You're going to penalise the people who don't drink, you
penalise them, they may have to drink a little less or a little less often, which ain't going to kill them, but you save thousands of lives.
I mean, that's the point, isn't it? I think they haven't done enough. It's a shame that time has been wasted on this because, you know, the backlash is going to be the same. You will still see youth drinking litre bottles of all kinds of alcohol in parks or whatever because the government haven't done enough. And in these austerity times, you know, if they can tighten our purses even more by making it harder to get and purchase alcohol, particularly the young people, then it's a missed golden opportunity, I think.
Janet, what do you think?
What is it with us about it's weird, isn't it? I freely admit alcohol is my drug of choice. I think it's a great thing, and ever since the first still was invented, I think it's wonderful that we can
You've not been tempted by meow meow then, yeah?
No, strangely not, no, but...
Or pond cleaner or whatever the hip legal high is.
Yeah, it's one of the new 40, yeah. I hope they all have names like that, because it must make it much more interesting to ask for them. But I do think that I'd be prepared to pay more if it meant that some kid falling around the street somewhere hadn't been able to get a bottle of beer, a can of beer, which is, as you say, is cheaper than a can of Coca-Cola. What that is...
Cheaper than a can of Coke, still.
Insane.
That's the government getting tough.
So please penalise me instead. I'd be very happy to take that on, as should any, what I hope is a responsible drinker, apart from that time when I wasn't. But seriously, I do think that it's ludicrous to pretend that it's anything other than a drug that should be restricted to those who can use it mostly wisely and certainly not as freely and cheaply.
But is price, Imelda, the way to do it? I mean, that is the concern, is that if you use price as a tool, you were the one that talked about poverty and surrogacy. Here we've got exactly the same situation.
Yep.
Millions of people would find it harder to wind down at the end of a hard week.
Yeah, but I don't understand why we're talking about it as a necessity. You don't need it, whereas, you know, milk or water or food is you don't need it. You shouldn't be reducing it so everybody can have it, which is fine. Most people can anyway. I think it's pretty cheap enough as it is.
Well, certainly under these rules, there is no change.
I mean, am I right in somebody told me once that milk is 27 pence per litre.
Yeah.
And the dairy farmer, it costs them 29 pence per litre to make it. So they lose per everyone. So surely they should be tackling issues like that for things that people need. Milk and the dairy farmers obviously need to be paid,
so
rather than tackling alcohol to make it cheaper.
You don't care if a working class chap on 15 grand a year says, you know, if you went up to 50p per unit, a bottle of vodka becomes 15 quid instead of a tenner. I can't afford my bottle of vodka.
I think that's rubbish. I've been on way less than 15,000 a year, and if you really want a bottle of wine, you'll cut out a few biscuits and you'll cut out the fancy ice cream.
You buy a bottle.
You sell the crow. You can get a bottle of wine. I think it's rubbish. I think it makes it, you know, it just makes it more of a necessity. And it is, if it saves some lives to make it a few pence more, I think that's well worth it.
I mean, just look what happened with cigarettes. How expensive now a pack of cigarettes are, and the correlation with the amount of people who stop smoking.
Yeah, it does seem to work, price as a control. It certainly works at petrol pumps, because I know all of us are sitting around there thinking, do I really need to drive, or should I just stay at home?
Exactly. And like, if you ever go into you know, an expensive bar in the West End or Europe and you ask for a pint, if they go £6, your initial reaction is to go, what? And you might have one instead of five.
I was really glad you mentioned that, because I'm very conscious of the fact that pubs are being broken by this, because duty, VAT, their prices are getting higher and higher and higher, which only further pushes people towards cut-price booze from supermarkets. Have the condoms missed an opportunity here? Let's hear what you've got to say.
OK, first we have Sarah on line 2.
Sarah, good morning.
Good morning, hello.
Hi there. Thanks for picking up the phone. Do you think Cameron and Clegg have missed a chance here?
Absolutely, a golden opportunity missed. I mean, we're if the condoms are keeping the working class sort of controlling them with booze, aren't they? Like they've always done.
Socialist worker, Sarah, socialist worker. I mean, maybe you're right. I mean, I suspect that what you've got here is that just the drinks lobby is so powerful that that they've managed to win the argument.
Well, I see that, but I mean, I come from sort of an alcoholic sort of upbringing, and it affects me greatly. And I mean, you can go and buy a bottle of cider for £3 equals problems for family and so on. I mean, benefits booze equals generations of alcoholics. I mean, not everybody, obviously, but it does.
Can I be really devious here, Sarah, and say, if they'd gone for 50p a unit and you had to pay £15 for a bottle of vodka instead of a tenner, the hardcore alcoholic is still going to buy the bottle of vodka, and all you're actually doing is taking a fiver out of their children's mouths.
In a way, yes, but they're going to do it. I mean, it's like with the cigarettes, what Stephen said. Awareness is education, you know. Yeah.
So I mean, they've gone, as I said, 21p for beer a unit, 28p for spirits. What do you think it should be?
I think it should be as high as it possibly can as a deterrent. Absolutely.
I do think the Sheffield University study, that seems to be the key one, 50p a unit, does punish the working class, those on low incomes, but I think it would act as a deterrent. Thank you, Sarah.
OK, we have Victoria next on line 1.
Victoria, good morning.
Good morning.
What's your take on this?
Well, this might sound a little overdramatic, but when I heard the announcement this morning that what they put the minimum price to, I really felt like crying.
Go on, why?
Well, we run a village pub, and
right.
I just live in hope that one day a government is going to realise that by putting up the price of alcohol in the supermarkets and allowing people to drink in pubs again by bringing down the price, we'll start to be able to actually regulate people's drinking and people's behaviour.
We've talked about this just before Christmas, and I was saying, I can remember when I was an underage drinker against the law in Croydon, aged 16 or 17, I'd go into the pub and you'd sit there with 1 or 2 pints over the course of the evening, desperately hoping not to appear drunk, sorry, forgive me, in case the landlord saw you and chucked you out. So there was this, you didn't get drunk. Now, of course, nobody goes to pubs because they're too expensive and everyone goes and gets plastered in the parks. That's your thinking, yeah?
It's happened more than once in here where we have people turn up, we serve them a pint, they drink the pint and then fall over. Yeah. And obviously we can't regulate the amount of alcohol that people are drinking if they're already turning up drunk. Yeah. And it is becoming a real problem. If only they could actually make it easier for people to drink in pubs, we'd actually have we're responsible licensees. We don't want people to have a bad time. We want people to have a good time. We don't have trouble in our pub. We don't have underage drinkers in our pub. It would be wonderful to just get people drinking sensibly again. And maybe one day somebody will realise that this is the way to do it.
OK. Imelda, I mean, Dublin has a fine pub tradition. Has that been affected at all by, I mean, because they're having tough economic times over there? Do you think that's...
Yeah, it has been affected, and also I think the smoking ban has affected things as well. I think the publicans are having a really hard time.
They are.
I think people are forgetting, and the governments are forgetting, that the publicans are working class too. They're trying to make a business. That was my point about the milk as well. By putting the prices down, it's not helping in a country in any shape or form, because you're ruining people's livelihood. I don't think that's the way forward at all. But I think, yeah, Ireland's been affected, and I don't think it's good for the publicans, because, as that lady says, they can regulate it, and they know they're regular customers. They can stop them having too many drinks and send them home.
I know from my local landlord, he's having to put 10p on a pint to take in the VAT rise and also the costs that have been passed down on travel and transport for the beer, and he's holding back on another 10p. He thinks he needs to put 25p on a pint in order to get his costs back. So beer in pubs is astronomically dear.
It's crazy.
Cheap as chips in supermarkets. It's
crazy.
Victoria, thank you. We're going to have one more call, then come to the
OK, we'll
audience.
take Peter on line 3.
Peter, do you think there's a case to be argued for a minimum price for booze?
No, not really. I believe the problem with the drink culture in the UK, and this is after spending many years overseas in Europe, is when a person go to a pub, it's a drink culture of drink as much as you can. When you go into a bar in Europe, you will always find that it's table service, and the finances encourage this type of employment, which opens up many opportunities for the young to get into the workplace, especially if they're students, etc. And the psychology that develops in the drinking culture is it's relaxed, it's sitting down. Often every bar has a basic food facility. Yeah, but people can go out in the evening, and they're not pressured to drink as you are in an English bar. There's no table to put your beer down. If you're in company, you're passed another beer by your colleague. It's about turnover in the UK. Well,
it is one of the sort of great misconceptions. Spain has a raging drink problem. France has a raging drink problem. They're behind us, but they're not far behind. Scandinavia, I believe, has a worse drinking problem than us. It's just a lie to think the Europeans have got it right. I do think also that drinking culture has changed. It's not like it was, Peter, because people aren't choosing the pubs. And Eric, what does our audience think?
Dorothy, someone very close to you had a drink problem. Do you think 38p a can's enough?
Wouldn't make any difference at all.
The price wouldn't?
No. If you've got a drink problem, you'd get the money from somewhere.
So
even if you sold something.
So the idea, as I put to one of our previous callers, that if vodka would cost £15 a bottle instead of a tenner, all you're actually doing is taking a fiver's worth of food out of your children's mouth.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, that's a depressing note to end on. Thanks for that, Dorothy. Cheers. Dorothy, depressing. Right. I'm going to keep that on file, just so you know what it's like to be a child in one of our primary schools, because after the break we're going to get your views on this notion that teachers have to keep a record